And welcome to another episode of the John Scott podcast in association with Turnbuckle TV. And I'm really pleased to say for the first time, a very unique guest with lots of different backgrounds and it sounds like a whole crazy lifetime worth of experience that he's got and he's probably gained, I'm sure, good and bad along the way, the ups and downs. But he's a martial artist, film. He's been into films, choreography, acting, and I'm sure there's other things in between all that as well. But I want to bring on now, and pleased to say as well for giving up his time for this, I want to bring on John Carrigan. So how you doing, my friend?
Hi, mate. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We spoke a little bit off air how nice the sun is here in the UK. Most of my listeners normally come from across the pond in the States where they're kind of used to it. But I always say to them, it's not that it's hotter or anything. It's just that we're not used to having sort of the whole AC unit built into our houses like they are in the States. And that's where it gets a little bit crazy. But I'm enjoying the weather. How about you? Are you a sun person?
Well, I am to a degree, but my wife loves to lie in the sun. If I went on holiday, I can't sit still. So I'm not a sunbather.
You sure?
It's to it, you know. It's not there, you miss it. When it is, you go, oh, it's too hot.
Yeah, no, I get you. And obviously we're at the moment, as I say to all my guests at the beginning of the shows, we're living in some sort of odd times at the moment, but touch wood, at least back in the UK, things are starting slowly to get a little bit open again, which I suppose is a good sign. And I'm sure if everyone is sensible about it, that'll continue going the right way. Obviously, for someone in your position, this must have created a little bit of more than a little bit, but a big problem in terms of your sort of career and sort of what you've been able to do. How have you found this time of sort of isolation, and have you been able to sort of, come up and adapt to different things in this time, or has it just been a bit of a nightmare?
Well, I'm sort of used to being on my own because I'm quite, solitary training and stuff when you're not with students. The acting side of it obviously just came to a stop, and I had to close martial arts school, which is attached to my house, luckily. But my wife, bless her, because she can work from home, so she's upstairs working now. But yeah, it's all been about adapting, but we've got such a lot to be grateful for, haven't we? You know, in a hospital or dead. So
absolutely,
it's best we're all well, and that's the way you got to look on it. You know, and it's given me a chance to really focus on stuff that you say, I'll get round to doing it, apart from what your wife gets you to do. So I'm sure we're all in the same boat there. Yeah. So I've been keeping up my own training, because you got to. I'm 63 now. I've been training 48 years.
Wow.
So if you stop, it's like pushing a boulder up a hill. If you stop, you feel the weight of it. So I dared to stop, otherwise I'll just sort of crumble to dust.
Sure.
You know? Yeah, but I'm just blessed that we're the way we are.
Yeah, I think you're right. You know, I know a lot of my listeners tend to, they do email me in and they say, I think sometimes they expect me to know the answers, like the government, about when all this is going to end. And I say, look, I know as much as you do. I'm not an expert, but I do say to people, look, if you're fortunate enough to be sitting at home and you've just got to isolate and you're not a key worker, it kind of be grateful. It's not like they're asking us to go for war or anything like that. We're just sitting indoors. So like you say, and also in this day and age with technology, streaming TV, internet, the access to be able to pick up. The contact can be pretty decent. I would hate to think what this would have been like maybe 20, 30 years ago, where we might have just been blessed with 5 channels on the UK TV, and surfing through that every day might have been a bit of a nightmare. But no, I'm a bit like you with that. I'm kind of feel quite fortunate and blessed that I'm not one of those people that are having to go out. Obviously, you've got this incredible background, John, with the whole martial arts. Just briefly, give us like when you was a child and all that. Have you always had aspirations to want to get into the martial arts side, or did you kind of envision yourself doing something else? How early on did that come about for you?
Well, around about, I think, about 1971, years before you were born, obviously.
Sure.
Yeah. I lived at the Elephant Castle in London.
Yep.
Used to be a lovely area, but it started to get, bit rougher.
Yeah.
And my father kept me very sheltered because he suffered from paranoid schizophrenia.
Right.
And part of his paranoia was that something was going to happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't allowed out, just outside the front door, and that was it, virtually.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
And that's a whole other story. But anyway, one day, a bunch of cretins went by and started picking on this girl, and I just told them to leave her alone, and they smashed me to pieces.
Right.
And my dad, when he was saying, he used to, about being, his name was Harry, the other side of Harry, good side, bad side. He realised that he'd totally unprepared me for life. So he took me to a martial arts school, and that was in 1972.
Right.
And Kung Fu craze was hitting there. Kung Fu was on television, and he smuggled me in to see a Bruce Lee film. It was totally out of the blue. Midnight Bruce Lee film, I did.
Nice.
And that was it. I was then, that was my fixation, was to get into the martial arts. So he enrolled me into a martial arts school in South Kensington, and I stayed there for about 3 years. And then the journey continued, and I sought out all the instructors of Bruce Lee. I went to the States loads of times. They came over here. I've been to Seattle, Los Angeles, and 48 years later, here I am. And I'm proud to say I got made into a master instructor. Never dreamed I'd be honoured that way.
That's pretty crazy. Now, you spoke about like the films there that you that snuggled into. How like, I'm a little bit of a film buff myself, so I'm quite into the Kung Fu stuff. I'm not like I'm not very hugely knowledgeable on it, but most of the big ones. But as I've got older, I've kind of because you get so many random stuff uploaded to YouTube, and you see them all on there, all the dubbed ones. And I mean, even if they haven't aged well, they're kind of, sometimes they're so bad that they're good sort of stuff to it. And obviously the choreography and everything like that is bliss, but sometimes the story to it can be a bit, you don't know where you are. Maybe there's
the fighting, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what it was about. What was it kind of? There was kind of a magical time, wasn't it, around the 70s, like late 60s, early 70s, I'd say, with this whole craze of Kung Fu coming from the sort of East, kind of being fixated by sort of us Westerners on that side. Yeah, what was it that made it sort of that magical? What is it about that, do you think, that it was so magical for kind of kids? And was it just the whole idea of that seeing all this great stuff on your screen could actually possibly happen?
Well, the real first life? Time I ever saw any martial arts was really the Kung Fu series with Kwai Chang Caine, David Carrigan.
Yeah, I remember that.
And the thought you could kick someone in the face while you're standing up was impossible. Either kicking the groin or kicking the shins in those days. And the whole country was taken over by the Kung Fu craze. The Bruce Lee films came out, and then the song by Carl Douglas, Kung Fu Fighting. Literally, everyone watched Kung Fu Fighting. People made flower picks out of broomstick handles, and it really was a cultural shift. Everyone was Kung Fu, and it made really pay attention to the Orient. The people that stayed with it, like myself, got into philosophy and everything else. And before Bruce Lee, all the Chinese were just waiters, servants. After Bruce Lee, you could say, well, he was their hero. And what made it different for me with Bruce Lee was it wasn't far-fetched, and you could believe what he was doing. The man was real. So I think that was the difference for Bruce Lee to the others. He was the first one to bring reality in the martial arts.
Sure, yeah. He's, for me, he's like the guy that certainly the psychology side of it, and just more than the fighting, for me, spoke to me as a person, because like you could really tell this guy, every time someone would ask him a question, he wasn't just going to throw away a line to make him he thought about everything, like digested everything. But it was a craze at the time. I think even around that time, the James Bond series had started to sort of reach out to China, and they started to add those bits. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So you see those, and obviously now, as time's gone on, I guess, I think for a lot of our younger listeners anyway, it's kind of a time where the world has become almost one. So it's not so distant as it used to be, and that sort of magic and mystique has really maybe shifted. Yeah, absolutely. So you got into that, but I mean, how does one? I mean, once you've done that, and you said you got in the altercation as well, like outside, and your dad brought you in, and all the rest of it. Like, for a lot of people I speak to, when I know that they do some sort of form of martial arts, whether it be MMA or kickboxing or whatever, there always seems to be that initial experience. Something has happened, and that's why they've done it. Very rarely do I meet people that have just got into it because for the love of it. Maybe there's a few kind of, I guess, amateur wrestlers that might be looking towards something like the Olympics and stuff like that from a sporting sense. But it's mainly something that's affected somebody, and then they've gone on and done it. You being an instructor now, how is that a pretty fair assessment, or do you think there's, it's changed over the years?
Well, I think the people I teach, because when you become into the Jeet Kune Do, fraternity, to get your martial, you have to understand the philosophy, the psychology, and physiology.
Right.
And I sort of do life coaching as well. And I like to inside my students, why do you come to this? Yeah. And still a good 80% of my students have that experience inside them. Some that changed their life, made them feel vulnerable, made them feel like a victim.
Yeah.
For me, it was a double-edged sword, really, because I put up 2 posters on my wall when I was young. One was Bruce Lee, and the other was Captain Kirk from Star Trek.
Yeah.
Years before your time. Because I never had a role model for my dad, what he went through, I had those 2 people on the wall. And I pointed to the pictures and I said, one day I'm going to be an instructor in Bruce Lee's school and push that up on Captain Kirk's chair, which was ridiculous in both statements, But they were driving forces, and I did both, and then some. But for me, the insecurity of being frightened of my dad smashing the place up, tried to kill my mum, smashed her head, all this stuff. So my life was all trauma. And the strength that martial arts gave me then helped me to get other people to that position. It was that fear really began my journey. But once you sort of never get complacent, but you get secure in, now that you can handle yourself. And it's the other stuff that comes with it, the confidence, being able to see inside someone what their needs are. So when I teach people, you have to nourish the inside and the outside, not just the physical stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I get that. Now, when you, I'm trying to think of my own experience with this. Now, I did martial arts, but probably for about 2 months, because I liked the idea of it. And there was this place local to me. I must have been probably about 9 or 10. And, but unfortunately, I just I didn't get on well with the guy that was running it. He was like, when I look back now, he was like John Kreese from the Karate Kid. He was kind of similar to that kind of whole ethos, very much like. And the more I think back to it, I'm sure that was his kind of go-to.
It's a lot of testosterone idiots.
Yeah. So and it kind of just put me off after that. Like I had a couple of bad experiences, and I just wasn't really. I thought I'm not going to keep coming back, getting shouted at and told, you've got to do this, that, and the other. And I guess I was just too. Had I been a little bit older, I would have probably seen through it a little bit, and maybe he was trying to get something out of me that I didn't know I had. I don't know. But for you, when you first got in, I would assume like the high you've got, much like most of my guests on here are in professional wrestling, there is this kind of code where it's sort of the higher you go, the more trust they're going to give you, but they don't let you in straight away. How big is that in martial arts and some of the sort of disciplines that you've taught in? The letting you in, is that quite a hard thing to get into, to meet the certain people? How difficult is that, or is it been straightforward, like in terms of your career?
Well, in the early days, there was no real Jeet Kune Do, which what Bruce Lee's art was in England.
Yeah.
I first trained with an instructor called Lee Wu, and he'd spent 13 lessons with Bruce Lee, just 13.
Right.
He's already a Wing Chun instructor, martial art called Wing Chun, but he said Bruce Lee had changed his entire outlook on martial arts.
Right.
And I spent 3 years with this guy, Lee Wu, amazing man, and he saw the weaknesses inside of me, the timidity and everything else. But he went back to Hong Kong. I then went, like you did, karate schools and everything else, to try and keep my training up. Nothing was the same.
Yeah.
Because Jeet Kune Do deals with the individual. You can't teach it en masse.
Right.
So I made my life journey to go and seek out all the people that Bruce Lee trained. He's people left behind. There was a course, 8 instructors who were really close to Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
I'm lucky that I got to train with all of those, and each one of those had a different